Hello, future people. Welcome to Getting Tabled. I'm Jason the Bruce, and today we're having a look at Iron Man and Steve Rogers' best friends. So, although some of you will probably be thinking, yeah, but of course they had to do this when the TV show happened, truth be told, this happened in the comics first. Personally, I'm a fan of Sam Wilson as Captain America. I'm also a fan of Bucky as Captain America as well. I'm not sure which direction I prefer. For the way that they were doing the MCU, it probably made more sense for Sam Wilson, but that's neither here nor there. We're here to have a look at some models and build them. All right. So, having a look at the actual product itself, again, I do like the art style of these. I know I keep on saying this, but it is true. I like the art style. This particular mini, there seems to be people that both love and hate this. I actually really like this. I really, really like this. But here's where your problem, you kind of get stuck with how you're going to pose this. My answer to this, if you don't want this to be happening, would be, honestly, look, just get a clear bit of rod and then glue it in between the body and however it is that you want imposed. Just glue it so that it works for you. This is not quite so bad because realistically his feet could be on the ground if you want. Same blurb on the back. All right, so first things first, looking at the instructions, is there anything that stands out to us? This all looks very straightforward, honestly. It looks like you might even get away without giving him, if you wanted to paint this up as Falcon, you probably could get away without putting the shield on, I think. However, when you move across to Rhodey and Warmachine, this is where things become a little bit more reminiscent of Iron Man. I don't think it's quite as bad as the original Iron Man and Ultron sculpts, though. In the original Iron Man, like, every single limb was 7 or 8 pieces. It was quite ridiculous. At least at first glance, this doesn't appear to be quite that bad. I guess time will tell when I go to build this. Instructions-wise, it looks like we continue to be okay. In our cards, we start with Birds of Prey. As previously, I'm just going to be going through these one at a time. Feel free to pause the video and read for the rules if that's what you're here for. I still find it odd that not everything that you receive in these is directly related to the models that you get. But in saying that, it is what it is. I don't think it's quite as bad as the first wave of X-Wing, but I continue to be a little bit cautious on my opinions there because I don't want this to become one of these games that you have to own everything in order to play it. Because I do not feel that that's good for the industry. All right, Sam Wilson's Captain America. Here's the front of his card. And here's the back of his card. I quite like the artwork on these. I mean, the artwork is always good on these, but I do like this. And of course, Warmachine. Gotta love Rhodey. I have to, Rhodey's another character that I've always liked. It's quite nice. Tokens is a little bit more simple in this. So we've got some generic tokens. We've got just general helpful things. There's nothing really that stands out. At this particular point in the game, everybody's probably got more tokens than they're ever going to use. But that's kind of the way that these things go. So, bases-wise, we're starting with just the one size base. There's no multiple size bases on this. A reminder for those of you that are new to the game, these 2 sprues here actually have pieces that you can use. Don't throw these away. They make really good scatter for your terrain. and scatter for your bases so that they don't all end up looking the same. All right. So here we have the actual base, the actual sprue for Captain America. Nice, lovely detail here in the wings. This was going to be the important part for Falcon, I think. But this is the thing I have a question on. There's a little nub that goes in here. So you would need to cover that over with a little bit of green stuff. Honestly, if you wanted to customize this and just make this Falcon, this is one of the easiest conversions you're going to have. I think that's a really good touch for those that would prefer to have Falcon over his version of Captain America. I am a huge fan of Steve Rogers. I always have been, which I'm sure must sound weird to people that are not familiar. I don't know. For some reason, Captain America has always been one of the heroes that I really enjoyed. Nothing really stands out as far as detail is concerned. There's all sharp detail here everywhere, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. And moving into Rhodey. So, yeah, as we can see from the instructions, there are a lot of smaller pieces here that all come together. It's not quite as bad as Iron Man, but it's definitely a thing. So this is one of those models that's definitely going to irritate a certain part of the audience. I don't have a problem with these, honestly. I have built worse. I am a Malifaux player. I have built much worse. All right, and here we go. So, the minis have to come together quite nicely. The one downside of Captain America here is that the wings, the tabs that go into the backpack here are not quite as thick as I felt that they should have been, so there's actually a little bit of play there. The benefit of that is it means that he's actually slightly more posable than he looks. Not by much, it's just a fraction. But if you were to add just a tiny bit of green stuff there, it would even be a little better. It's like a 2mm gap with like a 1.5mm plug. It's very, very slight. When it comes to Warmachine, Rhodey, honestly, was a bit of a pain. Specifically, this, which at the very sight of it should be fairly obvious. But in saying that, there's also no other way that this part could not have been the way that it was. It has to be a separate piece because of how it works. It's just because it's so thin and spindly, it's really, really annoying. And the instructions don't make it entirely clear how it sits. I would be recommending to dry fit this after you've built everything else. Honestly, my advice, the instructions tell you to put this on the gun before you put the gun on Rhodey. My advice is not to do that. Build everything first and put this on last. It'll just make your life a lot easier. Because of the nature of how thin this is, you can't really afford to pull it back off again. That is what I would recommend. This is very much one of those things where having a different opinion is not necessarily a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But having a more complex model can sometimes be a good thing. Sometimes it means that you get more posability. That's not the case with these. Sometimes it adds more detail. It is the case with certain parts of these. Some of them not so much. Venom is somebody that I've suggested before. Like that Venom sculpt is very average. It's very soft detail. The original Captain America has some way too soft details in it as well. I think, especially early on in those first few releases, they concentrated too hard on the detail being to scale, as opposed to like the exaggerated details in miniatures are supposed to help with things being more sharp, so that it becomes more obvious. And they seem to have learnt that lesson from what I can see. We do have one more unboxing that we're going to be doing, which will be coming up shortly. But otherwise, thank you very much.